that there's one burning question that you have been dying to ask all day long. Sondra, what is your birthday month? As it so happens, it's April. April is my birthday month. And if you are born in April like me, your birthstone is a diamond. I love diamonds. They are sparkly. They are shiny. They look good with every outfit. I don't care what color I'm wearing. Diamonds are always in style. And as I thought about diamonds and how much I love them, I wondered what it actually takes to make one. Because when I get a diamond, I just go down to the local jeweler, look in the jewelry case, pick out the one that I like, and hopefully purchase it on sale for 75% off. So as a modern woman of the world, I did what we all do when it's time to research a topic I don't know anything about. I Googled it. And the Googler, my friend taught me that word, Googler. The Googler told me that there are a couple of elements that go along with creating diamonds. The first element being time. It actually takes billions of years to make a diamond. And that diamonds take heat, about 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you imagine having 2,200 degrees of heat? I mean, if it's hotter than 85 outside, you can forget it. I am out. And it takes pressure. About 50,000 times more pressure underneath the Earth's surface than on the top. It also takes a bunch of volcanic explosions because all of those first things are taking place about 100 to 150 miles beneath the surface. And we can't really drill down to get them. They have to come up. And that's why there's these volcanic explosions that are hitting rocks all over the place, trying to push the gases and push the rocks up to near the surface so that the diamond, you've heard this, right? The diamond in the rough, because it's not quite done exactly the way that I'm going to purchase it yet. But it takes all of that to get to even begin to become what it will be, ready for me to purchase it on sale. And as I thought about those things, time, heat, pressure, it dawned on me that that is exactly the formula of creating a better me and a better you. That creating a diamond and building a diamond into what it will eventually be, very similar to building a person and what that person will be. And when people come into Toastmasters, you've seen these people because they come into your club saying, I need to present the toast at my daughter's wedding. Can you help me? And I need a place to practice. And in 6 weeks, they've got it down, and you never see them again because they have gotten what they've come for. A person will come into your club and say, I need a job. And I'm very uncomfortable with my interview skills. Can you help me? Yes, we can absolutely help you. And they spend a couple of months in the club practicing interview skills by way of participating in the meetings. Suddenly they have a job, and you never see them again. But the thing about becoming who you're going to become later is that you need a little bit more than just 6 weeks or a couple of months. This is the part that we in Toastmasters don't really talk about. This is the part that you're not going to read in a manual, and that's why we're going to discuss it a little bit today. And I'll show you what it looks like. Time. I first joined Toastmasters in 1998 post Toasties at USAA Insurance. And I'll bet this has happened to you. Within, I would say, 3 to 4 months of joining, I was called on to present a table topic. And on this club day, I slayed my table topic. I couldn't have been better. How do I know? Because my club mate Kathy said, Sondra, this is the best I have ever heard you present a table topic. You should participate in the club table topics contest. Really, Kathy? I'm that good? Oh my God, yes. That good. And I participated in the club table topics contest. 3 people in it, and I came in second. And my friend said she couldn't attend the area contest, and she had won first place, and I could go instead of her. And I thought, great, I am fantastic at table topics. I'll absolutely go to the area table topics contest once you tell me what it is. I don't know. And I found out what it was, and I turned in my paperwork, and I called my mom and my sister, and I told them, you must come see me. I have been in Toastmasters for just about half a year now, and I am becoming a stellar public speaker. So much so that I'm representing my club at the area table topics contest. And I arrive at the contest, and the contest is actually at USAA Insurance in our regular club meeting room. And the club meeting room has something like this where there's doors at the back, and they closed them. And they called all the contestants out behind the door. At the club, we don't do that. They just call us up. We went there, and they started saying, draw a card. I had never heard about what we were drawing a card for, but okay, and good news, I drew the ace. That must be good, right? Because when you play cards, ace is good. And they said, stand back here, and when it's your turn, we're going to open the doors, and you're going to walk down the aisle, and the prompt will be given as you're walking to the front of the room. And this is my home club venue. So not only are my mom and my sister there, but my home club members are there too, because I know they're cheering me on for my stellar speaking skills. And I'm standing in the back, waiting, and the doors open. Clapping is happening, and I'm walking in like a duck to water. Sondra Nunez. Sondra Nunez, like a duck to water. And I'm thinking to myself, in my club, the prompt is always a question. In my club, we just get called up. None of this is going on. And I got to the front of the stage, and I turned around and looked at the audience, composed myself, and this is what came out of my mouth. Quack, quack! Quack, quack! 45 seconds. Quack, quack! It does seem funny now. At the time, I'm looking at my mom and my sister, who are blank, right? Stellar speaker. I'm looking at my club mates, and thank God I got to sit down. Have you ever felt the most humiliation you could ever feel? You could not be more mortified with just what happened to you. And I thought to myself, I can never go back to my club again. Never. But I did. I went back to my club and they said, Sondra, you were amazing. Thank you so much for representing our club. In 2002, I left Toastmasters and my job at USA Insurance to stay at home and care for my younger daughter who is having health issues. And in 2010, I was able to go back. And as I started writing speeches again, that day came to me. And it was a day and a moment in my life that I had forgotten all about. Until I thought maybe I could write a speech about it. And I knew right then in 2010 when I thought, no, I'm not ready to share that story. It's too much. It's too horrific. I could never stand on a stage and share that story with anybody. About 2 years later, it was time for the second speech contest I've ever participated in Toastmasters. The international speech contest. We needed a volunteer from our club to go to the area international speech contest. And so I was one of 2 people that got voluntold to do it. And I wrote a speech about that day. Now, it didn't win. We had 2 people in the area contest, and you could send 2 to the division contest. So I got second place. And we went to the division, and I gave the speech again. And it didn't place at all. It really wasn't that great. However, my district, since that time, has not forgotten the day that I stood up and shared a story about the stellar speech I gave with 2 words. Quack, quack! Quack, quack! The reason I'm telling this story to you is because it took time for me to be willing to get over my own humiliation and mortification to be able to turn it into something better. And if I had just left, or if I had never come back, and it hadn't been there for me, I would have never given the speech to my district, and I wouldn't be able to share that story with you now. I wouldn't have been developed enough as a person to be able to share that with you. To let you know that when you stand up and you maybe don't feel so great about what you just said, you're not alone. If you're brand new and you're worried about what you're going to say in your icebreaker speech, just let the words quack, 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 quack come into your mind. And I promise anything you say is going to be better. It takes time to develop the skills necessary to become who you're meant to be. I just watched this reel before I got here, maybe a couple days ago, and this person is saying, wisdom doesn't come in a weekend. Right? You can't just get it quick. It takes time. And this is what we can share with people who think that in 6 or 8 weeks they've gotten everything that they're ever going to get out of this program. They haven't even touched the surface in 6 or 8 weeks. But because they're doing so much better than they were 6 weeks ago, they think that there's nothing more. But there's more. So time is necessary. Heat. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought, ooh, it's getting hot in here? It's uncomfortable and I don't really like how I feel. Me too. And in 2010, when I came back to Toastmasters, I joined Roseville Toasters, and it was the home of the District 39 Governor, Joe Velke. Now you see how tall I am. Joe is this tall. He is a big guy. He is a working professional. He is an entrepreneur. And every time we came into club meeting, every Tuesday, At 6:45, because we started at 7, Joe would be standing at the entrance. You couldn't get in without passing Joe. Hi, I'm Joe Velke. What's your name? Hi, I'm Joe Velke. What's your name? Hi, I'm Joe Velke. What's your name? And I was not comfortable with that at all. I was very uncomfortable with trying to look someone in the eye and put my hand out to shake theirs and say, hi, I'm Sondra. What's your name? And finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I was so uncomfortable. I was so hot that I just said to Joe, Joe, stop it. We know each other. We're friends. I do not need to introduce myself to you one more time. Sondra, if you can't introduce yourself here, you are never going to be able to get where you're going. I don't really like these people who mentor me. It wasn't that long after that I joined another club because we were building up another club. And so I left Roseville Toasters, and I hadn't thought about that time and what Joe was trying to teach me until years later. And when I mean years, I mean last year. We're talking 14 years later. And if you haven't seen or been a part of what it takes to be campaigning and as a candidate for international director in Toastmasters, there are a couple of steps. And in the fall of one year, you put in your letter of intent, it's accepted, you have an interview with the International Leadership Committee, and either you're nominated or you're not, but then you decide if you're going to go on campaign. And because we have virtual now, most of the next 6 months are spent interviewing with leaders from around the world virtually, not in person. And then you arrive in the Bahamas at the International Convention, and this is what starts happening hundreds of times. Hi, I'm Sondra Nunez, International Director Candidate from Region 1. What's your name? Hi, I'm Sondra, and it just keeps going and going and going. From 14 years ago, from the heat that I could barely stand, were Joe's words. People are going to give you heat here, and it does not feel good. They're going to give you an evaluation that maybe they could have used no pronouns. That's kind of a key point with me in communication, is don't use pronouns. Maybe you're not feeling that great that day, or maybe you just don't understand because they don't have a better way to explain it other than if you can't do it here, you're never going to get where you're going. But that is what we do here. This is what it means to allow yourself to withstand the heat, to develop the skills you need to get to where you're going and to become the person that you were meant to be. So unfortunately, you're going to need time. There's not any way to get around it. And as uncomfortable as it is to burn your hand on the stove, you're going to need to allow yourself to walk through the fire. Who does that? Tony Robbins, he loves coal walking. You're going to need to allow yourself to feel uncomfortable, to feel heat. And just when you thought you can't stand anymore, you're going to have to pour some pressure on. I hate to break it to you, but pressure is a key ingredient. And sometimes people can't get, they can barely get past the heat, and they say, no more. I'm going to drop. I can't take it. This isn't for me. And that is what it looked like when I got to the International Convention 2023, Nassau, as the Region 1 International Director candidate. And I had spent the prior 6 months interviewing with leaders from around the world, practicing what may or may not be showcase questions, practicing interview questions, because when you get to the convention, candidates have a candidates room that you have people come up to you and talk to you. Lots of people come up and talk to you all day long and all night long. And you participate in a candidate showcase where it's like table topics. You get called up on stage and you've got 5 minutes and they ask you questions that you don't know what they are in advance because they just don't give them to you. And then you get to give an opening or closing statement. And you're presenting this not only to the people in the room, and it's usually at 7 a.m., so there's not a ton of people awake in the room, but they're online around the world, several thousand of them. And then you get to the business meeting a day or two later, and you're required to stand in front of a very large ballroom. Sometimes there's a couple thousand people in there, depending on what convention we're at. And there's now a few thousand online. And you need to perform. This is pressure like I have never felt. And I knew it was coming. So I thought that I was mentally preparing for it in the best way possible. And then we got to the Bahamas. and George and I arrived on Saturday night, and the convention was starting on Wednesday. And on Sunday, we thought that we would have a practice session. And my campaign manager, Jessica, was there, and we started to practice. And I don't think that there had ever been a worse practice than we had on Sunday. I was just a mess. Nothing coherent was coming out of my mouth. I mean, quack, quack would have been better. God. And Jessica says, okay, it's fine. You got some nerves. We're going to wake up tomorrow. We're going to hit the pool. See how it's going to go. Get on Monday. We spend all day at the pool. We're trying to relax. We're trying to calm down. And we go back to the room on Monday night to practice. And it's getting worse. There's nothing coming to my mind when they are asking the questions. And these are questions that I have been practicing all year long. And I am starting to feel a lot of pressure. Because there's a lot on the line. I'm not just representing the members of my club now, but the people in my district. The people on my campaign team, the people who have been supporting me, and there's expectations, right? We face this in all the things that we do in life. There are expectations on us. And sometimes it feels like the pressure is going to be too much. But here's what happens in Toastmasters. You have had time to develop the skills needed. You have walked through fire and withstood heat. And so when we got to Monday night, and it was a disaster, it was about 10:30, and Jessica said to me, maybe this is just your process. Maybe you're supposed to be a total wreck, and then miraculously you're going to wake up the next day and be better. I will come back in the morning. And she left, and this sort of peace came over me. Not because I thought, oh, that was so great, but because there was one thing that I knew about myself, because I had learned it in all the time I had taken in Toastmasters, and all the heat that I had withstood in being speaker and being district leader, is that I knew that when it came time, I could withstand the pressure. That I would be able to perform. So Tuesday morning comes, and I walk down to George's room. He's staying about 3 doors down, and he starts giving me some questions, and I give my 2-minute speech, and we're like, oh, who's that? Oh my goodness. And about 30, 40 minutes later, Jessica calls up, and she says, hey, I'm coming up, and I've brought Joan. Remember Joan? It was so bad, she was bringing Mama Joan. I thought, uh-oh, they don't think that I'm going to do this. It's not going to be good. And they came up. Mama Joan was sitting there. And I went through the thing. And I looked over at her. And she just had a little smile on her face. Joan has the most amazing teeth you've ever seen. You'll recognize her by them. Amazing. They're just big white smile. And she just smiled and shook her head. And then she gave me a little bit of like, here's what I think could be added. Here is an idea. Here's what I thought about this. And we went on to Wednesday, where I was feeling much better, so I thought. But candidate showcase is at 7 a.m., and you have to be in the green room at 6 because they don't want you to be lost and they don't want you to miss your turn. And I do have a different process than everybody else. Number one, I'm always terrified. That's my process. I'm terrified when it's time to speak in front of a few thousand people, even if you can't see them. And we go into the green room, and some people, they show their nervousness by noise and movement. They're always like this chaotic energy. So we have this chaotic energy of these candidates going all over the room, and I'm trying to be a team player. I'm trying not to be standoffish to them. I'm trying not to seem like I don't want to be there with them. And I'm just sitting still, closing my eyes, and finally I say, I'm not ignoring you. I'm participating here with you, but I have to be still and quiet. Because that's how I manage my energy in my terror. Luckily, I am from Region 1, so it didn't take very long for me to get my turn. And I went on stage and picked up the microphone from the stand and went through the candidate showcase. The thing that I had been terrified of, right? Everything you want is on the other side of fear. The thing that I had been terrified of didn't go so bad. And I don't know if I really knew the answers to the questions. I don't know that that's even the point, really. The point is that people from around the world who are voting for you have an opportunity to get to know you. And I finished my 5 minutes and went out of the room because there was no way I could stay in there. I had to go get some fresh air. And my friends started messaging me and emailing me that they thought that went really well. And that bolstered me for the rest of the day and bolstered my mental state to go into the business meeting the next day to present my 2-minute speech, because I had withstood the most pressure that I had ever been under. Because that is what it is to be. This is why people are here 37 years. Okay, this is why they're here 50 years. This is why they're here mentoring new entrepreneurs and younger leaders, because we have learned that to become who we want to be, we need to put in time. We need to withstand the heat of it. And we need to be willing, remember, to stand when others will fall. And we can do it because we have allowed ourselves to move through the pressure. And there is times you're going to run into these people. They're like, it's been a month, I'm out of here. You may even think, gosh, I've gotten everything that I've come for. And when you think that, I hope that you'll remember this day and remember that outside of the manual and the website, there are a few gems that may not really readily be available to you or that you immediately think of, but I hope that you'll think of them. I hope that you'll remember time, heat, and pressure.